peoples, how are you? I am back at my house in California, and we are at our new time for the gathering room, because last week, because I was playing with Lizzie Gilbert in Phoenix, we had to do the gathering room on Sunday instead of Saturday, as you may know. And then we asked you, did you want us to do it on Saturday or Sunday? And you said Sunday. So here it is, Sunday, and no one is here. And that's okay, because I can happily, oh, Linda's here. Linda from West Virginia. You and I shall be together. How are you guys? It's so good to see people showing up again. Hi. We're just gathering. We should play some kind of jazzy music. Have a fun time. Oh, hello, someone from Sydney. Woohoo! All the way from down under. Liz Gilbert was telling me to talk like an Australian. You have to imagine that you're squinting into the sun with sand in your teeth. Good on, mate. I think it would work. From Winnipeg, someone comes in. From other places, Florida, from Minneapolis. Oh, Christine says she should be doing her taxes, but this is better. I agree. Render unto Caesar that which is Caesar's. Wasn't that about taxes? I don't remember. Someone's coming in from Phoenix, where I was last week. Canada with an ice bill from New Zealand is joining us at the age of 20 minutes old. It's fabulous. New York City coming in, Melbourne, yeah, good day. This is terrible. If Ro were here, she would swat me sharply. She just said to Karen, my other family member, well, one of my other family members, she just said, we really shouldn't let her out in public, but it's only by letting her out in public that we get to enjoy this lifestyle. She said it as if she was squinting at the sun with sand in her teeth. I think we're good. I think we're 4 minutes in. Pennsylvania, Washington, more New Zealand. We are getting visited from all over the planet, and I love you guys so much. Wow. So much fun every week to be here with you. Okay. So what I want to talk about this week is overwhelm. We live in such an overwhelming world, and I truly think that back when they were churning butter and like decorating their houses with, I don't know, rocks, they were still overwhelmed, human beings. Human beings, because we think thoughts in our brains, become easily overwhelmed. There's so much we can plan. There's so much we can imagine. And it's wonderful, and it allows us to have these huge dreams and to do these incredible things. But it also means that our heads are full of stuff that could possibly happen, stuff that is happening, stuff that's happening to us in an abstract sense, even though it's not here in the room, like taxes, that we really, really do sort of have to deal with if we don't want to end up in prison. It's overwhelming to be human. And I read something once in one of my favorite little bedside books, Melody Beatty's book, The Language of Letting Go. That woman has been around the block, and she knows how to like hit the target. And one of my favorite things that she said, and I remember this every time I get overwhelmed, is this: at no day, in no hour, and no moment are you ever required to do more than you can do in peace. So think about that. Like right now, are you able to do this in peace? I am. This has been the high point of my day, actually. I've been looking forward to it all day long. And I could do it in a state of frenzy. I could do it in a state of overwhelm. But if I think, I don't have to do more right now than I can do in peace, there's a kind of release that happens in my soul. And my mind starts to let go of things that are past or future or not in the room. Because I can't do them all in my head and be at peace. So actually, I would go one further, and I would say, on no day, at no hour, in no moment, should you allow yourself to do anything that you can't do in peace. And I also think that that alone should let you off the hook in your own mind. And then if other people say to you, why are you not doing 12 things at once? Because these days, I mean, while we do this gathering room, I guarantee a lot of us are going to get texts and emails and phone messages from people saying, literally right now, why aren't you doing 12 other things? And if we don't let ourselves off the hooks in our own minds for those things, the internet age will drive us completely mad. We have to be able to say, no, this right here, right now, is what I'm doing. And I'm going to be with it in a Zen way. And when you let yourself off the hook, then when someone else comes at you and they want you to do more than you can do in peace, stand your ground. You don't have to scream and yell. You don't have to convince them that you must be let off the hook. You just have to let yourself off the hook and say, I will do that when I get to it. Or, yes, as soon as I'm able. You know, you don't have to even make excuses in a way where you are not at peace in the moment that you are telling someone you can't do something. You have to do that in peace as well. So that requires the discipline of coming into the present moment. It requires all the things that they tell us are good for our spirits. And overwhelm can actually be a reminder to exercise that, to practice being at peace in the present moment, no matter what you're doing, and doing everything moment by moment in a state of peace. So I've had a million things to do. Today, I woke up from a dream that I had gone to prison for not doing enough things, literally. And you know what? In my dream, prison was awesome because I could like read. I didn't have to cook. I mean, it was amazeballs there in prison in my dream. But I was literally in prison for not doing enough things at the same time. So today I'm being in a place of peace, and I'm asking you to join me in being just one-pointed all the time, every day, in this moment, no matter what anyone says to you. That's what I have to say about that. And it only took me 5 minutes. So now I want to talk about questions. Hello. I know we had a question from Anne that came in before, but she hasn't put it up yet. So I'm going to answer other people's questions now. Ooh, Laurie says, I feel so guilty when I say no. Join the club. Here's the thing. There will always be something that is so important that you no longer feel guilty. And the very fact that you can let yourself off the hook for those things, in the case of something very important, means you have that mechanism. So this is also true. Eckhart Tolle talks about not worrying about, say you're worried about money. Everybody's worried about money, right? So really, you guys, even billionaires, I like to always reference that dude in Germany who killed himself when he lost $3 million because he only had he lost $300 million. He only had $400 million left. So he killed himself over money issues. Everybody has this. So imagine you're walking through the woods and you're thinking about, oh my gosh, the bank account, how am I going to afford, dental floss, whatever it is, you're thinking about money. And you turn around a corner and there's a bear. And I mean a big bear standing up. Ah! Do you notice how you stop thinking about money? That is presence. That is attention. And you may not be in peace at that moment, but you are very aware. And actually, the thing is, when people do have life-threatening experiences, I've experienced this as well myself. I've talked to friends who've had car accidents and stuff who say the same thing. When there's actual physical danger, the intense presence of genuine fear, Gavin de Becker wrote this in The Gift of Fear, it's not a torment. It's a very clear state of mind that has a very strong action imperative, and it doesn't torment you. Worry, anxiety is anguish. Like, we can be terribly, terribly afraid, and it's horrifying. But when the bear is standing in front of us, it's just clarity of mind and, okay, this is what I do now. And you do it in a state of peace. Isn't that weird? My martial arts teachers would say, if somebody attacks you, the way to fight effectively is to stay present and in peace. Isn't that interesting? So that thing that makes you able to let yourself off the hook, the bear coming around the corner, or like I was filming these lectures for our writing course and just turning everything to do not disturb. When I'm doing the gathering room, everything's on do not disturb. And I was talking to a writer who was having trouble not feeling guilty when she was writing. And I said, it's like you're filming something. Like the red light goes on, it says filming in progress, do not disturb, and you just, that's the amount of priority you give it. And that seemed to help her. So yes, use those things, those moments when you do let yourself off the hook. Okay, and got a question in. She says, I've been getting really irritable as a big decision approaches. How do you know when your ego is freaking out versus when something is truly not for you? All right, so anything you do that is very, very important and good in your life will bring on intense resistance. Anytime you're about to go past the previous limits of your imagination, the resistance to that will be extraordinarily difficult emotionally, and it doesn't always feel like peace. When I bought this ranch, which was by far the biggest purchase I'd ever made, and I thought, I mean, who am I, this Mormon girl, no, ex-Mormon girl from Provo, Utah, to have like this huge forest to play in on the coast of California? It was such a big step past what I'd let myself think I was worth, that for like a year, I was kind of like, whoa. And I was scared. I was like, why couldn't I just squirrel all that money away and, you know, just live quietly on oatmeal for the rest. I could be an oatmeal forever instead of buying a ranch. But there was magic in the decision to go forward. It cracked open my imagination so that I started doing different things. I started exploring spiritual aspects of my spirituality I'd never explored before. That's a big part of why we're here right now. I got away from people and I let myself be as spiritual as I naturally am. And it turns out that I'm pretty strongly inclined that way. If I hadn't like thrown myself over a cliff, I would not have been cracked open. We do not get cracked open by small steps, which is why mostly it's good to take small steps. But at some point, we're either going to have a small life or we're going to crack open. So to change the metaphor, they say a ship in the harbor is safe, but that's not what ships are built for. So the question is, do you want to go voyaging, or do you want to tie your ship up in port and keep it as safe as possible? There are times when safety is the better option, like in the middle of a huge storm. That's probably not the best time to put to sea. But there are also times when staying tied to the dock makes us feel this sense of, yeah, this is probably safe. This is probably good. That's not peace either. That's smallness. And we are not meant to stay small. We're meant to expand and undergo metamorphosis. So here's the deal. If the thought of setting sail on an adventure feels like you're going to see new things with new eyes, it will scare you, and that's okay. That's actually a sign that what you're doing is significant. If setting sail feels like that feels 100% bad, that is wrong. Everything is pushing against it. It makes me feel like it's just completely negative. And you don't do it. It's really simple. But my point, and I'll go back to it for a minute, is you'll always be scared. Always. Whether you're scared tied up in port or scared going to sea, you're going to be scared. Fear is just always with us. We get used to it, and we decide what to do based on what thrills us, whether or not fear is present. I'm going to quote Audre Lorde again. When I dare to be powerful, to use my strength in the service of my vision, it matters less and less whether I'm afraid. So, words to live by. Seems paradoxical, right? Live in peace and yet don't be afraid to be afraid. You can be in peace and afraid at the same time, strangely enough. Celeste says, do you find yourself changing what you're doing in order to do it in peace, or just changing the quality of your presence as you're doing #all the things? If something feels against your integrity, you must stop doing it. If you actually feel like you are having to lie to yourself, like pretend you're happy doing something and you are not happy consistently, or pretend it's meaningful and it just doesn't feel meaningful. If you are pretending, you will not be in peace. If you're pretending something that goes against your integrity, stop it. But if you're doing something that is in your integrity, which is terrifying to live in total integrity, then you change the quality of your presence. Then you return to the part of you that feels integrity. I call it your sense of truth. You go into that and you remind yourself that this overwhelming thing you've undertaken will only ever come to you in a moment to moment dose. It's only going to come to you in sips of a moment. And then you can focus on the one sip and the quality of your attention changes and you come back into peace. And step by step by step, you make the journey of 1,000 miles. Judy says, when I'm overwhelmed, have too many things to do, I have a tendency to freeze and do nothing. Absolutely. The reason this happens is that your brain has something called an attention bottleneck. And they discovered this when people started getting, actually when pilots in airplanes started getting lots of electronic input. They thought, this will make pilots better than they've ever been. So they put all these things in like new fighter jets. And they send out their very best pilots, test pilots. And you know what happened? With too many sources of input, the pilots not only didn't read all the sources of input at once, they stopped being able to hear the control tower people talking in their headphones, saying simple English words like climb or you can land now or whatever they say. What they discovered is that when the brain has too many sources of input, it jams and nothing gets through. This is why, for example, prey animals like antelope or zebras or whatever, this is why they go in herds, because a predator wants to hunt one zebra, a lion, say. If 20 zebras start running in all directions, instead of choosing one and going after it, the lion just kind of goes and literally can't even chase one. And that's what happens to us. So when it freezes like that, know that you're trying to get too many things into your attention at the same time. Go into a room by yourself, shut the door, sit down, do something simple, like play solitaire or something that focuses you on one thing, and just breathe and let it go. And then you can start like listing things and getting it to be linear. But when you're trying to do all these things at once, the baby's screaming, the phone is ringing, your computer needs whatever, you just jam. Don't let that happen. Like, it's going to happen to you, but when it happens, the response should not be to try to do everything at once. The response should be get away, be in a place by yourself, focus on one simple thing, like solitaire, then make a list, then maybe go back to your life doing thing by thing by thing in a state of peace. Yeah, attention bottlenecks. How do you stop others from taking away your peace when they criticize, blame, or shame you, says Donna. That's a really good question. The first thing is you have to absolutely believe that you deserve to not have to do more than you can do in peace. So it's your belief system that will shake you up. if Donna, I don't know if you live amongst the Taliban, but the Taliban believe that women shouldn't laugh, that they shouldn't make audible footsteps, that they shouldn't ever be seen in public, that they should be killed if they like ever have sex with someone out of wedlock, whatever. A lot of things that maybe you don't believe. If the Taliban sent you a letter saying you are bad because you have your head uncovered and you laugh loudly and you have audible footsteps, you might think they were weird and you might be kind of scared of them, but you wouldn't actually take on the criticism, blame, and shame. You wouldn't be like, oh my God, I'm such a bad person. People can hear my footsteps. Or, oh, but what? I've shown my head? I need to be killed. Those are cultural beliefs. Now, if people come at you with criticism that you believe, you will feel as if there's a force coming from them that is making you feel these things. But that is not true. You feel things based on your belief system. So if you don't believe that you should be doing something and someone else tries to shame you for it, you will look at them and think, oh, you poor thing, you are really trapped in this belief system. Or you will think, what an odd thing to say. I don't really get where you're coming from, but we could talk about it. You just won't internalize it. So get really clear. Do some Byron Katie work. Ask yourself if the things you blame yourself for are actually blameworthy. So I should do everything at once. Is that true? If you believe it, you're going to be in hell. If you learn not to believe it, you'll get away from hell. You might just end up in heaven. Of course you'll end up in heaven. Everyone ends up in heaven, I think. Okay, Susan says, Martha, what do you think helped the most to heal from your childhood stuff? Any encouragement for those of us who've been doing lots of work and those darn childhood wounds show up like Achilles' heels? How do we heal our heels? Oh, good one, Susan. Thank you for your memoir and all your books. Oh, you're so nice, Susan. Well, the thing is, you never ever have to do more than you can do in peace. So what you do when you've got a wounded child, an Achilles heel, is you make sure that child is in peace first. And how do you get a child to a state of peace? A child who's been hurt. You know what? They don't need you to put on some huge production. They don't need to go to Disneyland. They don't need to be served night and day. What a child who's been hurt needs is to be held, to be listened to be seen, and to be understood. So before you do anything in the day, and periodically throughout the day, especially when you're trying to heal from, like if you're having flashbacks of trauma and things like that, that is job one. That is absolutely the first thing you're supposed to do. Before you even take care of your own other children, you stop, you go by yourself alone again, just for 5 minutes, take a bathroom break, and you let that child talk. You say, I see you, I believe you, I understand you, and I am going to hold you here. And you can even like put on a soft robe or wrap something around you so you have the feeling of being held. And you give that child compassion. And if she needs to lie down, you let her lie down for a little while. If she needs to be heard, you write in your journal, and then you write back from your compassionate adult side. So you take it a little slower because you're carrying a little child in your arms. And that child gets to be in peace too. And here's the thing. When I was going through the worst of that, I didn't get as much work done. I did not. And everything was still okay. And I wasn't always as present for my kids, and everything, we talked about it later. They're great. They're amazing. So put that healing self first. Put any wound you have, childhood or otherwise, put that self first. Give it love and attention. Carry it in your arms throughout the day. And that will go a long way toward putting you in peace. And then everything else comes out much more easily. So Monica says, if I have a project that makes my heart go out of my chest, but I feel overwhelmed and don't know where to start, that's the one to follow, right? If it's making your heart do this, you definitely want to follow that. And you just have to follow the next step. You just have to do this piece right here. So like I'm writing another book now, and it's just today I wrote 2 pages. Those 2 pages were all I had to think about. Any project, no matter how huge, takes place in a series of moments. And if you can get to a place where every moment is in peace, then peace itself is an aperture that allows the intelligence of life to flow through. And it accomplishes these huge tasks in its own way, very intelligently, very capably, with very little effort on our part. So the stress going into it is less, the quality is greater, and the peace is continuous. That's my goal. I hope it's your goal too. I think we can do that. Laurie says, how can I uncover my limiting thoughts and beliefs if I'm unaware? Is there a magic Martha tool for that? Yes, darling, it is called pain. Your limiting beliefs and thoughts, if they differ from the truth that is at your center, they will cause disruption in the form of emotional discontent. There will come a place where you feel angry or afraid or sad. Any place that you feel angry or afraid or sad, or any variation of those sensations, has behind it a limiting thought or belief. I know that's a huge statement, but I really believe it's true. When you get through all your limiting thoughts and beliefs, there is nothing to disturb peace, and therefore your emotional state, while it may go up and down, is held within this still container that is always protecting and loving it. And when pain comes up, you know what to do. There's the limiting belief. Find it. It will be right at the center of your pain. Natalie says, can you tell us about your bumblebee pin? I feel drawn to ask you. Yes. When I was writing Diana herself, the weirdest things would happen to me. And one day I asked, what would a society look like if it were perfectly based on love and empathy? And for several hours, I could not stop thinking about bees. And I was like, bees? What the heck? I'm trying to take it off right now so I can show you. Bees. And at first it was repulsive to me. And then I started actually feeling, ooh, isn't it pretty? I actually started feeling like I was in a beehive. And the bees, I was scared of them at first. And then I started to feel them as an energy of love. And I could feel the love they had from each other. I know this is weird. And I was just thinking about this because it was a long scenario. Like I for a whole night, I sort of lay awake going, bees are communicating with each other. How else do they choose a hive? How else do they choose which baby bee is going to be made into a queen? 200,000 bees decide to have 5 cells nourished as queens. How do they decide? So I started doing research, and it turns out that wherever people keep bees, the beekeepers have a tendency to become telepathic. And so they would create mystery schools that were based around beekeeping to talk about creating societies formed with empathy and with pure love for each other. Because that's the way I think bees actually work. And I was thinking about it because I was filling my bird bath with water today. And I noticed something that has been true. The day after I had that weird all-night bee vision thing, I went out to the bird bath that I keep full of water. And all around it, like a string of pearls, sipping the water, were these little golden honeybees. And they've been there every day since. And I go and I fill the water, and they fly all around me, and they never sting me. And I feel that they live in love. And that's why I wear a bee pin. It's a symbol of the new consciousness. Yay! It's a symbol of us, you guys. Us honeybees all over the world deciding to get here together and live in love and empathy. So you just never know where the exciting, wonderful, beautiful spiritual truths are going to come from. And I'm so grateful to you, my hive, for coming together with me, not only in empathy, but in telecommunications, so that we can all be less overwhelmed today and find peace. And when we do that, we will feel each other all over the world, creating a better, more wonderful way to be. Okay, see you guys later. Be good, have fun, and don't get overwhelmed. Mwah! Talk to you next week.